Hey, good evening, and welcome to Imagebuildrs Presents a Conversation with Michael Carson. I'm your host, Michael Carson. Thank you so much for tuning in with us tonight. If you're watching via Facebook, please share the live stream tonight. Also, click the like button. If you're watching via YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our channel and also click that bell so you'll be notified when we go live in the future. For those of you that are joining us tonight, you probably saw the flyer and you're wondering, why are we talking women's reproductive rights tonight? Well, we ought to be. You know that this show is pretty much by and for men, but men should be concerned about women's reproductive rights. It's often men who are making decisions that women should be making on their own. So if you know anything about me, you know what I've been about over the years. I've always supported women's rights, specifically the ERA. And when I ran for state senate, we had women's reproductive rights as one of our platform issues. So I am pleased tonight to have this show and to bring to some of you guys' attention, if you may not know, Dr. Sophia Yin from Pandia Health, and to bring back my brother, Edima Ufot, who's representing Black Male Initiative tonight, as my special guest. So I want to bring them onto the screen. There we go. Let me unmute. Edima, hey, Dr. Yen, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
So forgive me up front. I may say Dr. Yen or Dr. Sophia, whichever one. I hope it's
good.
I hope it's okay. Brother Edima, how are you, sir, tonight?
Brother, I'm doing well today. Happy Thursday. I'm happy you're on the show with Dr. Sophia and you.
Yeah, it was a good day today. The weather's good in Atlanta. It's a little hot. I'm sure it's pretty good in California. It typically is where you're at, Dr. Sophia. Dr. Sophia, introduce yourself to our guests. Let us know, besides Pandia Health, we'll get to Pandia Health. We want to know about Dr. Sophia. Who is Dr. Sophia?
Yeah, so I was born in Chicago. And then,
West side, south side, north side.
Somewhere near the University of Chicago in Cook County.
Oh, okay.
My mom was a nurse there, and
that's close to the west side. So we'll claim you on the west side. My wife's is from the west side.
Nice. Yeah, no, I love the cold weather that's there. I was born in the heart of the winter, in the middle of November, and my mom was a nurse, and my dad was studying for his PhD in chemistry. And then shipped out to Taiwan, I think, for like a year or so. My auntie raised me for a bit, and then she said she wanted to keep me. So then my mom's like, and asked for me back. Right. And then have been in California ever since. Went to MIT, which is in Cambridge, Massachusetts, froze my butt off and said I'd never go to the East Coast again. And then went to UC San Francisco for a medical school, went to Children's Oakland to do my pediatrics residency, went back to UCSF to specialize in teenagers and young adults, what I call sex, drugs, rock and roll, a little acne, and some sports medicine. Okay. And then back to Berkeley because I had to get all the degrees in the Bay Area and get a master's in public health specializing in childhood obesity. Wow. And now I'm a clinical associate professor at Stanford, and I was in their teen clinic, but since I started my company, I don't have as much time. And so I'm only in their morbid obesity clinic once a week on Fridays.
Excellent. And I was looking at your resume and your colleagues who are on your website or your bios, and they're just impressive. I mean, you guys, like you said, have just about every degree with respect to medicine and everything else. It's a laundry list for everybody. It's not just one or two. It's like 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees. So it was very impressive. Brother Edima, thank you so much for being here again tonight. Share with people who you are and who you're representing tonight. And give us a little bit about your background, because you didn't give us that last week. You just kind of said this is who I'm working with, but you didn't tell us your journey, who you are.
Okay, well, my journey is I'm a kid from Atlanta, Georgia. I went to Forest Park High School, then I went to Lane College, and I finished up at the University of West Georgia. I'm an Omega. I am a community organizer. I started with New Georgia Project, NAACP of Georgia, as well as currently I'm with BMI and I'm with BMB, Black Men Build and Black Men Initiative. That's me, and at its heart, I'm a guy that's from Atlanta and wants to see Georgia do well and Georgia win, man. You guys know currently Joe Biden's here on his 100th day in Georgia,
Yeah.
just to celebrate the work that we're doing here in Georgia.
Yeah,
Amazing.
most definitely. And thank you again for the work you're doing on the ground. It's important. I look forward to collaborating with you more through BNB and BMI as we get this work done, not only in this state, but I think the work that we're doing in the state is important for what is happening abroad. In California, being a little more progressive than Georgia, we just, I know your governor there is really doing some amazing things, Governor Gavin Newsom,
Yes.
and he's just getting stuff done, which is really impressive, and I'm really impressed with him. So, Dr. Sophia, you co-founded Pandia Health. Tell us what it is. Explain the origin of the name and what you guys offer, the services that you offer.
Yeah, so the origin of the name Pandia. Pandia is all about empowering women, making women's lives better. And Pandia is the only women-founded, women-led, doctor-led company in birth control delivery. All the others, no offense, are run by a bunch of bros and not people that have taken the Hippocratic Oath, which is do no harm. And Pandia is the Greek goddess of healing, light, full moon. So all about power and women. And then I also made up the definition. I think it's fate. Pan is every, and in Espanol, dia is day. So we got you covered every day. Set it and forget it. Let us worry so you don't have to. And what it is I was giving a talk to a bunch of doctors. Why don't women take their birth control? And one of the top reasons was didn't have it in their hand. Didn't have time to run to the silly pharmacy every single month for 20, 30 years of our lives. And the insurance companies being dark and evil are like being evil is limit you to 7 days before. If you go 8 days before, 9 days before, they won't give it to you. They won't cover it. And so those of us, whose birth control runs out on Sunday, we go the weekend before to be all responsible, right? And the pharmacy's like, sorry, you got to come back Monday. Otherwise you got to pay for it. And it's like, what? I don't have time. I'm here now. Why do I have to come back Monday? I have work. I have other things to do. And they're like, either you come back Monday or you pay for it. And so the whole point of Pandia Health is let us deal with that. We'll calculate exactly the time. We'll bill your insurance, ship it to you. If you have a prescription already, just tell us where it's at. We move it to our pharmacy. Give us the front and back of your insurance card. Or if you don't have insurance, you can give us a credit card. It's just $15 per pack of pills, less than 50 cents a day. And then we'll bill your insurance or bill your credit card, throw in some goodies in there, throw in a public service announcement to educate you on something new and exciting about birth control, and ship it to you. And we'll ship you a month, 3 months, a year supply, depending what your insurance will allow or what you want to pay for. Set it and forget it. Let us worry so you don't have to. And then we
and that's seems to be the sentiment on your website, which I found to be really user friendly. I found the language, the atmosphere, the mood of it was really, it wasn't about, oh, you're visiting a doctor, you're talking to doctors, or it was really inviting. Why is this an important topic? And what do you say to women who say, well, I can't afford it. I don't know what to, I don't have a credit card, or, I don't know what to do. This is all new to me. What do you say to them?
Yes. So we have lots of educational information on our YouTube. I have, first time on birth control. Here's Dr. Yen's tips. Don't take it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach because you're going to be nauseous all day long. But also we have lots of information on the pill, the patch, the ring. Those are the 3 that we can ship to people or that people can take care of themselves. And which one of these would be, best for you? Again, because we're the only doctor-led company, we will always tell women what's best for their health, even if it doesn't benefit our bottom line. So if you ask me what's the best birth control out there, vasectomy is the best if you're ready for that. But the IUD with hormone or the implant are the most effective. You just put it in, don't think about it for 5 to 7 years for the IUD, intrauterine device, or the implant, which just goes in your arm for 3 years. And both of those, all of these are totally reversible. You can take out the IUD yourself if you had to. I was like, if I ended up somewhere and I was like, that's the hottest guy in the world and I need to reproduce with him, but I had an IUD, I could reach up, yank it out. And then like in a week or 2 after my uterus build up its lining, fresh, ready to make a baby, bam, I could go. Same thing with the birth control pill. After 3 days, it's out of your system. The patch, the ring, the same thing, the implant, you take it out of your arm in 3 days, it's out of your system. So all of these are reversible. If you can't afford it, then, again, it's 50 cents a day to prevent unplanned pregnancy, so much cheaper than, other things. Or like, if you're buying a coffee at, Starbucks, 2 or 3 coffees, right, in exchange for preventing unplanned pregnancy. But we also have, because I'm really into nonprofits and helping people, we have Pandia Health Birth Control Fund. So if you absolutely cannot afford it, then please go to Pandia Health Birth Control Fund and just apply and tell us what your situation is, and we'll try to cover it for you. And we hope that you'll pay it forward, pay it back. So you borrow some money now, we're not going to charge you, but when you get money, put some money back in. So that way somebody else who needs it. And if you have extra money to give, donate to Pandia, Birth Control Fund. And if you wanted to set up a Georgia specific, we could set up a Georgia specific fund if somebody just wants to fund only people in Georgia or only people in whatever state that they're in.
So, Brother Edima, you brought to my attention Dr. Sophia last week. I hadn't heard of Dr. Sophia. I hadn't heard of Pandia Health. So why was it important? And you said we ought to get Dr. Sophia on the show and talk about what she's doing and how we can be allies. Why was it important for us to have this show, and why did you recommend it to me?
I just want to talk about 2020 with Dr. Sophia. She came in and doing the movement work. We had a bunch of ideas of getting our people to have conversations and go vote. The 6 weeks trash bill that was put out there, and the heartbeat bill they called it. Dr. Sophia was instrumental in having conversation, just teaching me and teaching African American households on how to navigate that and the importance of voting. So when it comes to women's health, she's the leading candidate in my eyes who I'm going to have a conversation with when it comes to birth control, when it comes to unplanned pregnancy, when it comes to women's health and women's rights in a whole. So I thought we should have had a conversation with her, because we're having a bunch of events coming up in the future, and I want women to understand that Black Men Build and BMI stands with them, and we believe in autonomy, women's autonomy with their body and women's choice with their body. And we have mayor races coming up in 2021, and we have governor races in Georgia in 2022, and women's body and the women's health should be on the forefront of those conversations and those topics. And Pandia Health is doing a wonderful job of continuing to have women's health and women's body as being a forefront and topic when it comes to political rights here in Georgia.
Excellent point. So Dr. Sophia, you emailed me, and I have a code on there, the discount code. So if people go to Pandia Health, how do they use the code? What is the code for?
Yeah. So if you need a doctor's online visit right now, we can deliver the prescription to all 50 states. But if you're changing or it's your first time, then Pandia Health has board certified expert birth control physicians, and we proudly list all of our doctors' first and last name and all of our credentials that you guys heard about. So we are birth control expert doctors that you can trust. And if you go to pandiahealth.com and you enter code Imagebuildrs, all one word, doesn't matter capitalized or lowercase, that'll get you $5 off the once a year, $20 to use our expert doctors. And for that $20 minus 5, so now it's $15, you get 364-day access to our expert doctors. Any question you have, follow up on birth control, not on acne, not on asthma, not anything, but just the birth control. We'll answer the questions. And I made it that way because I didn't want anybody to not come up with their follow-up questions and like bleed or have zits or have side effects or just like wasn't happy with their medicine because they couldn't afford the follow-up visit. So particularly for our cash patients, we actually give that telemedicine visit for free because you're going to be paying for the medications. For our insurance patients, it's $20 once a year. But with that discount, Imagebuildrs will take off $5.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, now I'm part of it, our organization, so I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you offering a discount. I didn't ask for it. You sent me a laundry list of stuff, and embedded in there was that discount, and I saw it and I appreciate it. So For those of you that are just joining us, I'm here with Dr. Sophia Yin and from Pandia Health and brother Edima Ufot from BMI, Black Men Build. Thank you so much for joining our broadcast tonight. We have, this is an interesting conversation. I'm going to switch the conversation a little bit. I know it was, you know, kind of started lighthearted, but I want to ask a couple of heavy questions that I know maybe some people who are watching have answers, or, and I want to get Dr. Sophia and brother Edima's response to those questions. Brother Edima, why is it, you know, why is it important for men to be allies with respect to women's reproductive rights? I know you talked about how important it is in Georgia and the work that Dr. Sophia is doing, but how important is it for men to be allied with women in this journey?
There's no journey. There's no fight if we're not unified. If we're not together having these same conversations as men and women, as minorities here in Georgia or here in the country, we have to have these conversations about women's body. It started at a time where women couldn't vote. So now that we've progressed so far, they still try to keep women at a certain stage and try to make decisions for their body. So on the political side, it's important that men know that autonomy on women's body is their choice on doing birth control, having a kid, or abortion. It's their choice, and they should be able to have equal rights and equal health care in Georgia. So that's why it's very important for men to be in this fight, because you have sisters, you have wives, mothers, aunts, aunties. You have those, and to make change, we have to all be a part of the voting class. We all have to go out and vote and cast our vote for what's right, and it includes all women's rights.
Excellent answer, and that's a great point. Oftentimes, let me get you off the solo. I'm trying to deal with this echo that someone told me that they're getting, and we're still getting it. I'm on a new device, so I apologize to those of you who are watching and you're hearing the echo. So oftentimes, men that I've talked to in the past, it's like, no, I don't want to talk about that, or that's my girlfriend's issue, or that's my wife's issue. That's really not something that I want to deal with. But we oftentimes elect other men who make decisions that affect your wife, your sister, your daughter, and take the options out of their hands and give it to someone who's typically making the decision based on their religious beliefs or their personal backgrounds, but nothing based on. I've yet to see Viagra. Anything relative to men treated the same way we talk about women's reproductive rights and things that women need. Dr. Sophia, why is it important for men to be allies in this journey that you're on, and for what you offer? Why is it important?
Yeah, it's because, women are half the sky. We are half the population, but men are the other half as well. And we can't do it alone. And exactly as Edima said, my phrase is, we all came from the womb. And that's why I wear uterus at my neck. Respect the womb. No one escapes the womb. So you either have a mother, a sister, an aunt. You wouldn't be in this world without somebody with a uterus. So treat that person as an equal. And if they can't decide what happens in their own body, when and how often we have children, that's a huge problem. And if I have a child, it affects my entire family. Be I a teenager, or be I a wife, or be I a daughter or a granddaughter or whatever. So it's not by itself, and we absolutely need to be united to support everyone's rights to determine what happens to their body according to their religion. America was built on freedom of religion, and to impose one religion on another person just because you're in office is not the American way. So it's really important for freedom of religion. It's really important for bodily autonomy. And I think that those without uteri can absolutely be allies and understand it's her body, her choice, her uterus, her choice. But if we don't elect the right people, those choices are taken away. And I think that reproductive rights, birth control, access to abortion is a harbinger of where they stand on other issues that are so important to all of us that, believe in freedom, that believe in people's rights to decide what happens to their body, and just people of color.
Dr. Sophia, do you get pushback? Do people confuse you with, oftentimes during election time, Planned Parenthood is the boogeyman? Everybody has to either be on one side of the aisle or the other, and no one talks about the plethora of services that they offer and other things that they offer. They talk about abortion and they make abortion the central thing. Do you ever, does Pandia Health ever get caught up in that? Do you guys get confused with possibly who Planned Parenthood is, or you guys are just an arm of Planned Parenthood? Have you heard that before?
Well, I think it's key, that everyone has this statistic in their mind. 97% of what Planned Parenthood does is not abortion. 97% of what they do is Planned Parenthood preventing unplanned pregnancy. And when you prevent unplanned pregnancy, you prevent abortions. And we have been confused with the abortion issue when, exactly as you said, there are no restrictions on Viagra and erectile dysfunction. But when I try to advertise birth control delivery, Google is giving me a hard time. Facebook is giving me a hard time. And the dude that was managing Google Ads was like, why don't you just apply under abortion? And I was like, you don't get it. I'm doing birth control. I'm preventing unplanned pregnancy. I'm preventing abortion. And it's so hard to get abortion out there that if I were to plan an abortion, it would be far worse. And so the men, the ones without the uteruses, are in control in so many places. So it's so important that you understand that, one, birth control can be used not for birth control. 70% of the people using, quote, birth control, I want to change its name to estrogen, progesterone pills, because right now we have progesterone only pills, but I don't want it to be birth control, and I don't want it to be oral contraceptives. I want it to be hormonal treatment. But 70% of those people that are using hormonal treatment or birth control pills are using it for other reasons. The number one cause of missed school and work for a woman under the age of 25 in third world countries, but also here in the United States, in Georgia, in Oakland, in our minority communities, is bad, evil periods. And so what I would love to share with all your listeners today, and if you all can share with anybody with a uterus that's bleeding 1 week out of 4, we now have the technology to make #periods optional. So if your person that with a uterus is bleeding 1 week out of 4 and she's missing school or work, or she's miserable, or she's feeling tired or cold because she's bleeding too much or anemic, then having fewer periods or no periods is absolutely attainable with today's technology.
Well, I can't let you go by without kind of explaining that a little bit, because I'm just thinking, and this is just me as a man, I don't know, you're the expert. Is that part of the natural progression of being a woman, or is that not the natural progression of being a woman? Because we're told, I was always told that's what, that's part of being a woman. So Brother Edima, I haven't forgot about you, but she brought up something. I gotta have her expound on that.
This is all about her. I am just an evil sidekick. We're doing it here in Georgia. And if you need some options, we got them.
So explain that.
Yes,
digging that a little bit.
As a physician, we have drilled it into women's heads. You must have a period every single month. And that is true if you're not on any medications and you're at least 2 years after your first period. I get so many little teeny boppers on YouTube, like, I'm 12 and I just got my first period and I haven't had my next period, in a long time. Within 2 years of your first period, it can be all sorts of crazy. But after 2 years, it should be regular and coming every single month. If it's not, then our doctor has to look for pregnancy, eating disorder, malnutrition, brain tumor, thyroid, other stuff like that. But We now have medication, hormonal treatment in the form of an IUD, an implant, a shot, the pill, the patch, the ring. They can kind of mimic pregnancy, tell your body, oh, you don't have to build that lining up every single month and then shed it and then build it and shed it. In fact, so normally when no hormones, your lining builds up to like a level of 10. And then you're like, is there an embryo? Do I want to catch a baby? No baby, bleed. And then you build it up. No baby, bleed. And we do this every single month from age 12 to 40. And in the United States, we pop out 2 babies in between. However, Dr. Beverly Strassman studies the Dogon tribe in Mali, Africa. They have 100 periods in their lives. We have 350 to 400 periods. And the difference is because they start at 16. We start at 12, and that's a nutrition thing. As soon as you hit 100 pounds or 22% body fat, you will get your period. And so over here, not so much nutrition. They start later. We have 13 periods because we got lots of nutrition to support having a baby. And over here, they have 7 or 8 a year. But more importantly, they have 8 or 9 children. So they spend 8 or 9 years pretty much being pregnant, whereas we only have 2 kids over here. And then they breastfeed for a year. So again, 8 or 9 years of breastfeeding. We breastfeed for 0, 3, or 6 months. So we're having 3.5 to 4 times, 350 to 400 versus 100 periods, which would be natural. So this unnatural state is a new thing because we don't have babies till later. We don't have as many babies. Unfortunately, we don't breastfeed as much, but we can mimic the fewer periods and thereby decrease women's risk of ovarian, endometrial, and colorectal cancer. And the cancer comes every time you build that lining. You're like, oh, no embryo, and then you bleed. That building can turn into cancer. And so if you're doing it 350 to 400 times compared to 100, higher risk of endometrial cancer. Every time you pop out an egg every single month from age 12 to 40, you risk ovarian cancer. And we don't know if it's the popping or the healing, but one of those processes. And the only way to decrease your risk of ovarian cancer, and President Obama's, I think, grandmother or mother had ovarian cancer, is by turning it off for 5 years, and you could decrease your risk of ovarian cancer by 50%. The other way is to take out your ovaries, which we don't recommend, but just saying, if you want to decrease your risk of ovarian cancer, turn those ovaries off for at least 5 years with some birth control, and you decrease your risk of ovarian cancer. And then we help women get to school and work by decreasing the amount of blood. So when you're on birth control, you just grow the lining to like a level 1, and you can choose to bleed every month, every 3 months, every 6 months, or never. Because the way it works is hormones for 3 weeks and then 1 week off. And that week off is where you bleed. But that week off, you could do it every 12 weeks. You could do it every 6 months. I personally haven't bled for 11 years. My last child, as long as I take my medicine. If I forget to take the medicine, then I end up bleeding.
Wow. I mean, I'm glad I don't have a quiz after this because I probably will fail. That was a lot of information.
Sorry.
But I followed you. I followed you, and I understood, and I understand. And I think part of being an ally is, I mean, I don't necessarily have to understand it to the level that you explained it, but I think we have to understand each other from the level of being, like you said, people who come from the womb. And I'm a man, she's a woman, so forth and so on, so that I can have a level of understanding and compassion as an individual. And then if I'm married or if I have a girlfriend or whatever, then I can go on that journey or not. I don't have the same experiences, but I can listen and I can learn and then maybe help her and be a support to her. Because oftentimes we see movies and we see, sometimes we see ads and it's always just a woman in the hospital, in the doctor's room making a decision. And I was just watching a movie and there was this young lady in there and the woman was just screaming out Bible verses to her. And there's another way and but she was there by herself. Oh. And there wasn't anyone in there with her, and so I think it's important for us to recognize that and to be allies. So Edima, share with us how you and other community-based organizations, I know you had mentioned that the New Georgia Project and others were doing some work with respect to reproductive rights. Explain how you guys in the grassroots level and what you've seen and what you've heard on the grassroots level, what people are doing and what they're saying.
I can talk about NGP real quick. They have 4 pillars of reproductive justice, right? They got an RJ campaign they running for. Our rights are in danger. Our bodies and healthcare, our neighborhoods and civil liberties are under attack. We have this most critical impasse of our nation's history. Pledge today that you will do your part to defend the reproductive rights and justice today. There's a pledge card they have that you can take the pledge on New Georgia Project's website that say that you will have these conversations and that you will vote in the future when it's time to do that. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I don't know if I can see you guys anymore.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are a couple of things, as well as we have a health fair in June. It'll be men's and women's health fair to come talk about, come check up, have these conversations, as well as we doing other things in the community such as the sports leagues. So women's sports, we did a few surveys and a few questionnaires to say like the importance of the goods and the good, the bad, and ugly of birth control. And a lot of people say the goods is if you're a women athlete, that it controls your period and doing the bleeding, and so you don't have the most painful cramps. Women say they deal from a lot of different cramps, and it's really difficult when you're an athlete. So that's some of the positives I've gotten from female athletes. Whether it's taking birth control, I didn't have too many cramps, so I still was able to perform at my best in basketball and in the other sports. So just we offering autonomy, offering you a choice here in Georgia. And we'll be at different events, such as we have a pop-up shop. So if you want the QR code to come out and have conversations about it, we'll have it. As well as we have May Day this Saturday. If you want to come out and volunteer in the morning or in the evening, we'll be out there having these conversations as well.
Dr. Sophia, great information, Edima. Dr. Sophia, what do you guys track the ethnic and socioeconomic status of the women who receive your services and receive the birth control?
Yeah, so we don't track the socioeconomic status. I think a proxy for that would be, are you a cash patient or are you an insurance patient, right? Because if you have insurance, then oftentimes you're employed. And if you're cash, then you're underemployed and you can't afford insurance, or you have a job that won't give you insurance. So that is an indicator. We can definitely look at that as well by zip code. But as you know, within the same zip code, people can have different things. The ethnicity, we ask our patients to self-report at the end. And the reason why is I, as a person of color, totally forget that all of medicine, the joke is based on a 70-kilo white male, and certainly not 70-kilo white male for birth control, but maybe a 65-kilo or 55-kilo white female. And throughout my academic training, we were always taught this birth control is the one to use, and we forget that works for a white, female. But for Asians, Blacks, and Latinas, we found that this one is better. And to validate that, we're asking our patients to self-report their ethnicity, and we're going to see which one correlates with fewer side effects for most people. But from our experience, I've personally written 2,000 birth control prescriptions in the past 2 years and seen what are the side effects and whatnot. And so if we start on this birth control, everybody does better. And I don't use the one that I was taught in academia because that one works for a Caucasian female who wants to bleed every single month. But Latina, Asians, Blacks, and somebody who doesn't want to bleed every month, this one is better.
I noticed on your website, I'll ask this final question and then I'll allow you guys to give some closing thoughts. I noticed on your website, there's some information about BMI. You talk about BMI a little bit. Can you explain how, and I assume that weight might play a part in this. Can you explain the BMI and also some of the other resources that you guys offer? Because again, there was a lot of information on there, but what jumped out to me was your information you had about BMI.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that out. One of, my favorite Pandia PSA, public service announcements, is to make sure that everybody who's considering using emergency contraception, so the morning after pill, not an abortion pill. If you're pregnant, you take this nothing happens. If you want an abortion medication pill, that's a different thing, and you have to go to the same doctors you would go to for an abortion. But the emergency contraception is
Oh, I'm sorry.
specifically Plan B and its generics. Check your BMI, which is a body mass index, and you need just your pounds and your height, and you punch it in, just Google BMI and calculator, and then put in your pounds and your inches, and it'll tell you. And if your BMI is 26 or greater, and my BMI is 25, I'm 5'3", 40 pounds, but thanks to COVID, I'm probably hitting a BMI of 26, then Plan B and its generics are as good as water, AKA it won't work. And so there is a prescription emergency contraception. If you have insurance, ask your doctor to write it for you in advance of need. It's called Ella. Ask for Ella. And thank you, President Obama. Thank you, President Biden. They passed the Affordable Care Act. Any FDA-approved form of birth control, if you have insurance, is available with no copay, no deductible. So if you're paying any copay, any deductible, unless your employer is a religious employer or exempt somehow, then that is against the law. And because the prescription emergency contraception fits into that, no copay, no deductible, aka free, if your doctor writes it for you. And at Pandia Health, whenever we write the birth control pill patch ring, we're like, do you want some emergency contraception with that? It's covered by your insurance. We'll just bill it, and you can just have it there in case of emergency. So before you take Plan B or even thinking about Plan B, check your BMI, because if it's 26 or greater, useless. Go get the emergency contraception, the prescription one called Ella.
This has been an enlightening conversation for me. I learned a lot, not only from speaking with you personally, but again, your website is very, very user-friendly, and there's so much information on there. And I would ask that everyone who's watching tonight, if you get an opportunity, I'm going to put it up here on the screen, go to pandiahealth.com so that you will get even more detailed information about some of the things that Dr. Sophia mentioned tonight. I believe they're doing a great work, and that she and I will, as a result of this, will probably be linked up some kind of way to further this conversation. And if our platform can be used to further this conversation, she definitely has a home here with Imagebuildrs and with Conversations with Michael Carson. So we're at the time where we usually close our show out with a few closing words. I want you guys to know that, again, this show is important. This topic is important. It's important to women, and it's also important to men, that we understand, that we be allies, that we educate ourselves a little bit. Educate yourself about the people you're voting for and what they're voting for with respect to women's reproductive rights. Don't try to impose your will and your own personal rights. If you don't want abortion, don't get an abortion. This show isn't about trying to tell you what to do with your body. Instead, we're saying it's important to be an ally, and it's important to make sure that women have the right to choose what they want to do with their body. So that's the message that we wanted to get out with this show, and I hope you got that from what you heard tonight. So I'm going to give Edima some words, give him an opportunity to give some final words, and then the last voice you'll hear before we end this broadcast tonight will be Dr. Sophia Yin. For all of you who follow me, we are going to Instagram. I didn't have it up here. Dr. Yin and I will be on Instagram following this broadcast, so check us out at Michael Carson Jr. on Instagram. We'll be live shortly after this broadcast, but we'll start with Brother Edima, and then we'll end with Dr. Sophia. Continued blessings to everyone who watched the show. Make sure you share, like on Facebook, and subscribe, and click that bell. Brother Edima, we'll start with you.
I want to thank everybody for coming out today and listening to Dr. Sophia and myself talk about women's reproductive rights and women's justice here in Georgia. If you guys would like to get more information, like I said, pandiahealth.com. If you want more information with birth control, how do you get it here in Georgia? We have a QR code. We're going to be at different events where we'll have the QR code information where you can become a member and start getting your birth control delivered to you. we have to vote in 2021. It's a mayor's race here in Atlanta and different other cities, and we have to vote in 2022. It's our goal to continue to have minorities come out and vote in big numbers, and just one of the ways and one of the companies and women's health should be a forefront and a real topic when we come vote in 21 and 2022. So that's it. Thank you for coming out.
Dr. Sophia, you get the last word.
I want to thank everybody for coming out today. I want to thank you, Michael, for having me and on Imagebuildrs, and just so amazing to see men as allies supporting women's reproductive rights, caring and wanting to know about our need for birth control and our uses for birth control outside of birth control, aka bad, evil periods, or for better performance in sport or better performance in school. And so I like to do PSA, public service announcements. The one public service announcement: if you're going to use emergency contraception, check your BMI. Just Google BMI, type it in, and make sure it's not 26 or greater. If it is, then go get prescription emergency contraception. And then also that anybody with a uterus that's bleeding 1 week out of 4, you don't have to bleed. You don't have to suffer. At the very least, don't miss school and work. Talk to a provider and check out pandiahealth.com/periods optional. And my TEDx talk is on the bottom on the science and safety of not bleeding every single month. But definitely get out there, get out the vote, get out all your friends to vote that support a woman's right to decide for birth control, a woman's right to decide what happens to her body. And thank you all so much for having me here today and tuning in.
It's done.